So if you've seen the last couple of videos I've put out, you know that I have a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6. So I purchased this device from one of the big carrier stores, and I have some reasons for that. So today what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over the top 5 differences between buying a phone from a carrier and buying one that is factory unlocked. Now you'll want to stick around for the last reason because it could be a deal breaker for you. Starting off at number 1, and what should be probably the most obvious difference between having a factory unlocked cell phone and in this case, Verizon branded cell phone, is carrier flexibility. Now, with a factory unlocked device, such as my OnePlus 12, I can use this device with pretty much any carrier anywhere in the world. So if I travel internationally and I don't want to use my standard carrier, I can pick up a SIM card in whatever country I go to, put it in an unlocked phone, and continue using the phone just with a different phone number. In today's communication age, having your cell phone number match anything really doesn't matter. I can travel internationally and use a different cell phone number and still communicate via social media, email, and other applications. With a carrier locked device, typically you cannot just swap out SIM cards. Now in Verizon's case, after I believe it's 180 days of use on their network, you can pretty much use the phone anywhere else. I know for a fact that you can take Verizon cell phones and use them on AT&T, as I used to work at AT&T and had a Verizon cell phone at one point. The next real big difference between a factory unlocked phone and a phone you would pick up from a large carrier is going to be the carrier's bloatware. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in the case of my Verizon phone, there were several different applications that were Verizon branded. There were several different games that it had automatically installed, and there was an automatic install of Facebook. Now, at the time of me purchasing the Z Flip 6, I did not have a Facebook account, but I do have one for the channel now, so I'll put a link in the description below for that if you want to follow me there. But it's things like that. You just get a bunch of applications that you then have to go in and uninstall. And even though Verizon applications that I decided to keep would keep popping up asking me to activate premium visual voicemail and asking me to set up that particular application. With a factory unlocked phone, you get none of that. You get these standard applications that would come on pretty much any Android phone with no muss and no fuss about the rest of it. Now, the third difference between purchasing an unlocked cell phone and purchasing one from a carrier is going to be carrier branding. Now, carrier branding is when a cell phone carrier takes a device from the manufacturer and adds their own branding to it. In the case of my Z Flip 6, the boot screen does this. It first goes through the Samsung Knox screen, followed by the Android screen, and then finally a repeating Verizon logo until the device fully boots. Now with an unlocked device, you don't get that. It just shows the brand of the device and then boots straight into the OS. While that's not a deal breaker for me, obviously, it is kind of a bummer when you go to resell the phone. The number 4 difference has everything to do with pricing, but in a completely different way. When it comes time to purchase one of these phones, if you're upgrading from a previous model, you're probably not going to get the same level of discount that you would get if you went to a carrier. Case in point, when I went to purchase the Z Flip 6 from Verizon, they offered me $850 trade-in on my Z Flip 3. Now, the closest approximation I could get to that, I believe, was about $450, and that was from Motorola. Nowhere else, including Samsung, could match that level of trade-in at the time I was looking. Now, pairing that with resale value, when you go to resell a non-carrier branded unlocked device, you're probably going to get more money for it than you would if the device is locked to a particular carrier. Again, in the case of Verizon, if I ever decide to get rid of the Z Flip 6, it's not going to be much of a big deal because the device should work on most all carriers in the United States. I know that it will work on Mint Mobile. I know that it will work on AT&T. So I don't have to worry about those things, but it can be a deal breaker depending on what carrier your prospective buyer uses. And the final difference between a factory unlocked and carrier branded cell phone, which again may not be a deal breaker for most anybody, but if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest software updates, and in the future want to be able to possibly even download custom firmware for your device, you will run into some issues with a carrier branded device. Let me explain. So with most unlocked devices, the phone is unlocked, the network is unlocked, and the bootloader is unlocked. Meaning, in the case of a phone like a Pixel, you'll be able to download firmware such as Lineage OS in the future after Google stops supporting the device. In the case of Samsung, if you've seen my older videos on my Z Fold 2, you'll know that that's not a good idea. Samsung devices, regardless of whether they're factory unlocked or not, have a physical fuse inside them called a Knox fuse. It's part of their Knox security system. And if you boot custom firmware to that, you can physically trip that fuse. When doing that, you will lose any ability to use apps like Samsung Pay, Samsung Health, and things like that. I did find some workarounds on my Z Fold 2, but it was not the easiest thing in the world to do. So in the case of my Z Flip 6, I do not get the standard Samsung updates as quickly as I would if this device were unlocked. Now, all carriers have a reasoning behind this, and Verizon's reasoning is this. Verizon customizes the software to include their apps and services. They need to ensure that these additions work seamlessly with the updates, and that any updates that are put out from the manufacturer comply with their standards for network and everything like that. So they have their reasons for doing it, but don't expect to get the newest version of Android right when the rest of everybody will get it. So I just wanted to put this video out to show you some of the differences that I've noticed between a factory unlocked phone and a carrier branded phone. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen here today, please leave them in the comments down below and I will be sure to answer them as soon as possible. Now, if I have missed something that's like a big deal for you, please also let me know in the comments down below because I'd like to include it in a future video. As always, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I have making it. My name is Bryant. This is Reviews for Nerds. Have a great day.